What's up, everyone? Today I'm going to show you how to set up Splunk in Cisco Modeling Labs 2.9 to collect data and logs from your virtual devices running in your labs. Now, I have a very small lab set up here. It's already configured because I want to try to do this kind of quick. We'll talk about the configurations before we get started. But I have a switch, I have a router. For the switch, I have a interface VLAN set up. Both the Splunk and the Chrome containers are set up as part of that interface or that VLAN. And then this router just has a router interface set up to point to the DC switch. There's a route that connects and sends to that 10110 network. So everything's set up here. The only thing I don't have configured right now is sending the log data, which we'll do once we get the system set up. For the Chrome container, by default, nothing's configured under here. I've set up the IP address to ETH0. I've turned my link up and I've set a route. And I've done the same thing for my Splunk container. Now, the one extra thing with the Splunk container is in the configuration files, you have the option to set up some environment variables, and one of those options is your Splunk password. So if you're looking for the password for your Splunk container, you can just do this drop down for configuration file environment. And you can see the default, it's something Cisco 123-ish. I changed my favorite password, secret password, and we're going to go ahead and use that for our admin account. Now what's going to happen is I'm going to start this lab up. We're going to go ahead and just do start, and everything's going to boot up. The switch should come up and get all the configuration I have set here. We'll watch it come up, and we can see it's already got its host name. Just going to do a quick show run, and we'll see my two interfaces are configured for VLAN 100. My VLAN interface is set up. We should be able to pull up VNC for my Chrome container. And we can see I have Chrome set up, so we'll be able to access the Splunk container instance, which is on 10.11.100. We'll just do a quick console here. Take a look. And it's still booting, so it's running through some various processes. At some point, this will come up and tell you, hey, it's ready. You can log in. So we'll just wait for that to come up. And then we'll double check the router here. We can see it's up. It has its host name. Let's do a quick show run. And we can see we have our IP address. So let's just do a quick ping to the other side. And we can ping our router, or I should say our switch interface. So that looks good. Let's confirm that we can reach the gateway. And we can also reach that. Okay, so all that is good. Looks like the Splunk container is running, so it is done. It's ready to go. We're going to go over to Chrome now. Now, you know, the way I like to set things up usually is I like to set it up so that I have a public IP so that it's reachable within my network. Now, in this case, the Splunk container does not have additional interfaces. You only have one interface that you can assign to the container. Now, that means that when we place the Splunk container in our network, we need to think about how we want to place it so that if we want to have access to it from, say, like my home PC here, how can I get it on my home network while also providing the logging capabilities to the CML lab. I talk a lot about using proxies to access stuff. This would be a fantastic use case for sticking a Ubuntu host on the edge of this DC1 switch, setting it up with the Squid proxy, and then using an IP address on your home network on one of the Ethernet interfaces, and then using a second Ethernet interface that's part of the CML network, and then letting Squid proxy your home network to the inside network to access things like Splunk. But for this use case, because I didn't want to really get into all those details, I will show you how to do that in another video. I just want to show you in this video how to get Splunk running. I use the Chrome container, which is a completely viable option. It's just you've got this VNC that you're inside of, so it's not as handy as having like the full screen of your browser here. So we're going to go to 10.1.250 or 10.1.1.100, and that's not right because it's going to be 8,000. Still not taking it. 10.1.1.100. Oh, because it's not HTTPS. So it's running on HTTP. So it's actually running on HTTP://10.1.100:8000. It'll automatically fill the rest of this in. But you can see we have the login now for Splunk Enterprise. I can log in as admin. I mentioned I put secret password in there, so I'll put secret password in. And once it loads, you have the full-scale Splunk Enterprise experience running inside a container in Cisco Modeling Labs. So super cool. You can start, getting familiar with this UI, understanding where things are. We're going to take a look at some of the things that you can do with this. For this use case, we're going to look at how we get logs into Splunk and how we get logs sent from our switches and routers to the Splunk collector. So we're going to go to settings, and we want to set this up to add data. So I'm going to click add data, and it's going to say, do you want to do a tour? If you've never worked with Splunk before, I would encourage you to kind of go through the tour. It'll walk you through some of the details. I'm going to skip it because I have worked with it. And we're going to do monitor. And so what we want to do is we want to set Splunk up to monitor a specific port, specifically UDP, which would be where syslog comes from. And we're going to change this to UDP. We're going to do 514. We're not going to change anything with the source name or where we're accepting connections from. For source type, we're going to do select, and we're going to do a select source type. Now, you can click on network and security, and it'll pull up Cisco ASA. I'm like, well, that doesn't really help us here. I think we just want general logs. So out of the box, there's no option for like a Cisco specific. So we can do Cisco syslog. Let's see if there's anything else here. There's just generic syslog, so we'll do Cisco syslog. And then we'll just do the host value. So it's going to pull a DNS name, but you can have it do IP, or you could do a custom option if you want to set a custom field. I think we're good there. We're going to do review. It's going to show you some of the details it's got. Hit submit, start searching. And we're not going to do anything here, right? There's no data here. Again, another tour. There's no data here being sent to the system, but it's ready to accept data. So what we can do now is we can minimize the screen. We can come to our switch. Now, I could have set the switches up, or I should say the switch and the router, to actually have logging start right away. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to come here and we're going to do logging. And we want host. And we're just going to say 10.1.100. And then we're going to do logging trap. And you can set the level of which you want to start doing logs. I generally do 5. If you want to turn it up, you can. You can catch everything up to emergencies. So you pick the level that you want to pick. We're going to do 5. And this is done. So if I exit out of here, in a second, we should get a log from the console. And I would be willing to bet right now, if we go look at Splunk, we're going to have this configured from console by console. So let's take a look. Close that window. We're going to click search. And as quickly as we set up logging, we've already got a log coming to our Splunk server, right? That fast. We're going to go to DC router. We're going to do the same thing. We're going to do logging, host, 10.1.100, logging, trap, 5. We're going to do an end, and we're going to do a write. Again, we got configured console from console, and we can see we already caught the log about the syslog starting on our router, and we caught the log of the configure from console by console. We can see the host, where it came from. It's 10 or 192.168.1.1. Let's go back. That's our interface. Show run, which connects to the switch. So it's ETH00, right? It has that address. It's pulling all the data in from host name, which is the IP address, because I don't have a DNS server set up to actually correlate the names of the IPs to a name. We see we got this underscore gateway here. Somewhere along the line, it used underscore gateway, which if we go back to our DC switch, show hosts, no. It's probably using 254 because that's the usual gateway. What if I show? I don't think I have another interface I could use for this. I could, let's try this. Logging, show run. So I'm going to try to set it to use ETH3, but let's see if ETH3 can ping the Splunk server. Ping 10.1.100. Ethernet 1/0/3. Right, so I can get there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to config. Logging source. We're going to do Ethernet 0/3. We do end right. And what we should see now is the IP from which the logs are coming from should have changed to 1.2, right? So in a scenario where maybe you have an out-of-band management interface that's doing your logging, the logging source interface would allow you to change where the IP is coming from. I've changed it so it doesn't say gateway now. I'm getting it from that Ethernet 0/3 interface. But you could pull it from everyone. If I had DNS set up and these actually had host names associated with them, I would pull DNS information instead of the IPs. But you can see we're collecting some data now. This is really just a quick and simple way to get Splunk running in your environment. I am going to work on a second video that's going to show you how to use the lab that I built for Cisco Live to insert a Splunk container and actually start feeding data to that. We have a proxy set up in that lab, so I can use my home computer to proxy into the Splunk server so I can access it from my main desktop. And we can really start to use it like to collect some enterprise level data. We've got firewalls in there, we've got switches, routers, we've got VXLAN fabric. We can really start to push and see what kind of data we can get out of the system and what kind of logs we can get fed into Splunk. But this gives you kind of a start to work with Splunk. This is kind of really just intended to show you how to get it running, how to start logging into it, how to build that initial setup with your container. There's going to be other videos. I'm going to show you how to set up some applications. You can go out to Splunk Base and you can add some additional apps. We can't get to it from here, but I'll show you in the other videos. You can go search for other applications to add. But this gives you just kind of a, hey, how do I start working with Splunk? You've got your searches here now. You can start searching for host, right? I start typing it. You see it starts pulling some information out about the hosts that are available. We'll look for 1.2, do a quick search. And, now you're filtering data, right? So this gives you kind of that hands-on experience with working with Splunk, starting to get a feel for how to use the search tool. There's so much you can do with it. There is some free training that I've linked in the past. I will add it to this video. If you get this spun up in CML, you can go work with the training. And then as you're watching those training videos, you can actually start doing those things in Splunk and start getting that hands-on experience. So I hope this was helpful. Definitely going to do a lot more content around Splunk. I think it's a fantastic tool. I love that it's part of Cisco Modeling Labs because for network engineers who've not worked with Splunk or for network engineers who've worked with Splunk and really want to see what else you can get out of it, it's a great way to implement it as part of your labs, get some real world type data into it, and really start leveraging a tool that I think is super valuable for the enterprise and seeing how it can do more than just being a log server for you. So again, let me know what you think in the comments. If there's anything you want to see specifically with Splunk, let me know. And as always, thanks for watching.